Hello, this is James, and we're back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, where we look at all the posts in the Libertarian Uncensored subreddit, and let's jump right in. German police investigate Roger Waters over concert wardrobe from Reason, and I posted that, and I said, I saw people calling him, on Twitter, they were calling him a Nazi just because he was playing one, and, and another guy on Twitter who gives a fuck, and I said, agreed, same Fred, both are increasingly control the dialogue, though, so that's the thing. And, I think personally, Roger Waters is just playing Nazi. I think he's able to do that. But, I guess Germany does kind of rules against that. I personally played a Nazi in high school production of the sound music, so maybe they'd arrest me too. I don't know. The thing is that the government can arrest you for anything if it deems worthy. And, that's usually whatever it feels like. Then we have a woman who threatened Nancy Pelosi with hanging during Capitol riot gets over 2 years in prison from NBCDFW.com by her umph. And I guess that's good, I personally, I don't know if I would have first sentenced her to prison, but depends how far she reached into the Capitol, I guess. And if she was, I think that was federal entrapment, but you get people having arrested for federal entrapment before, yeah. I personally think, if she just was yelling at her from outside the Capitol, I think that'd be fine, but I guess here they're going to justify more jail time because apparently she went into the Capitol, and that was, yeah. Men flee college by the millions from Breaking Points is next from YouTube, and I posted that, and, yeah. I said, as someone who graduated with a bachelor's in criminal justice, I think this is good. Unless you are in STEM or medical, I don't think there is much of a reason to go to college. Starting in business or the trades are much better. You can also arguably learn more about human nature via social media than college can teach, speaking from personal experience. That's my thoughts there. Study finds that school choice has a positive effect on public school students from Ruin My Circle Jerk, and that's from Mathematica.org. And, yeah. I personally think that school choice is good, and, yeah, that's pretty much Ruin My Circle Jerk's thing. They post about how school choice is good. So, yeah, we talked about that before. Then we have ChatGPT's bias ruins game night from Common Sense Soapbox, and I posted that. And I definitely do think that's the problem. The AI's bias, it's certainly biased towards the left, it seems, and I think that's something that we need to keep into account. And yeah, I think that's important. Then we have 13 Years of Impact, The Long Reach of Citizens United from NCSL.org by Your Officer. And I definitely agree that's had a lot of impact, with how much propaganda people have been getting from both the right and the left. And, I think it's going to get worse in the future as we have more propaganda just pushed at us, and we can't question it because there's just so much of it. There's so much being shoved at you repeatedly. New U.S. aid package for Ukraine will total about $300 million and include munitions for drones from NBCDFW.com by her umph. And I personally would say no, we shouldn't be giving Ukraine anything more. But they'll probably just give everything to Ukraine because fuck you. That's why. Elon has been quiet about AOC for a while now. I wonder what he's up to this time. Holy shit, that's a link from Tri-Town20, and that was a tweet from an AOC party account. I can't believe someone would do this to us. An AOC tweet, it was a quote tweet as a party account, and then the original quote tweet from AOC was, if either fake accounts here in person being going viral, who is engaged at boosting visibility. So, I personally think, if you're a public figure, you should be able to be mocked and partied, but I guess, you consider this impersonation, but I personally think impersonation should be completely illegal too, so that's my thoughts there. National Endowment for Democracy VP calls the gray zone to dispute characterization of them as CIA cutout. Gray zone journalists proceed to educate her about the history of her own organization from Chi-Town, and I agree that National Endowment for Democracy is really just kind of CIA cut think tank, and I'm glad that some people are standing up to them. You know, the gray zone is pretty far left, but I'm glad that someone's standing up to the CIA here. Google bans from YouTube for a week a leftist network of black commentators, some of the best and most interesting analysis around. The world's dumbest people, those liberals who insist that free speech is only a right-wing value and it's only about letting Nazis speak. Glenn Greenwald from Twitter. I said, if you dissent at all from the official DNC narrative, you increasingly risk getting censored. And Willpower responded, so Google is part of the DNC. I said, the U.S. government and big business are intertwined. You know, you can see all the, that's, if you look at it, like the cartoon Spike Cohen posted a while ago about the big business and the big government sharing the same building, and that's important to remember. You know, that's, yeah. Which theory book do you hold in the highest regard? From Chi-Town 20, and that's from Socialism 101 subreddit. I personally don't really care too much for theory. I would say I would consider myself more for action. Sorry. I consider myself more for, I'm more libertarian theory than socialist theory, but, I guess, if you want to do socialist theory, you should do socialist theory, too. And then we have Happy 100 celebrating a work with liberal conservative media, and that's from, a Chomsky subreddit. It's a YouTube video from, Bird Communism, and I definitely agree that Henry Kissinger is a war criminal and that we need to hold him accountable, but sadly that will never happen. Just to be clear, and this is a link from my motherfucking ink, it's a post from the March Against Nazis subreddit, and it's a list of people hated by fascists, academics, anarchists, blacks, communists, disabled, ethnic minorities, feminists, homosexuals, intellectuals, Jews, Muslims, socialists, transgender union members. And people hated by anti-fascists is just fascist, and that's important to remember. So, yeah, but it's important to remember that anyone who dissents from the official DNC narrative all is going to be labeled as a fascist, and and yeah, that's important to note there, because I think I know people who are members of multiple of those groups, or at least every one of those groups that have been labeled as a fascist. Just shows you that they'll label you as a fascist if you question the narrative at all. I need water. Next we have Ron DeSantis dangerously blurs lines between state and private action. And I said, they were pretty extremely blurry already, to be honest. Government and private corporations are pretty much already intertwined, The state could already justify whatever it wants. I don't think Ron DeSantis is as bad as Reddit makes him out to be, but when it comes to breaking precedents. But I do think, he's definitely your average authoritarian. Then we have senators want to declare fentanyl a national security threat from Reason.com. And that is from Ninja Lover. And I said, fentanyl overdoses are bad, but you just can't declare all the bad things to be national security threats. And that's my fault there, yeah, so, yeah. ShotSpotter is a failure. What's next? From A Car for Justice by Ninja Lover. And I don't know what ShotSpotter exactly was. You're going to website and dangerous records of surround system that purports to detect sounds and locations of gunfire. So yeah, that's the thing. Technology, it doesn't always work, and that's important to remember. And you definitely see that a lot when it comes to when the police use it. Tara Reid has defected to Russia from Dangerous at 8554, and that is from a tweet from Kai von Schroff. And I personally think, that she did have the sexual assault thing on Biden, but now they're saying, she might be a Russian asset. But I think a lot of people might be assets of foreign countries or for private interests. So I don't really think it's that big a deal personally. The real reason Chinatown produces produce is crazy cheap is next. That's from Savior.com by Ninja Lover, and I think that might be something to do with I think how they get the products. I don't know. Wall Street Journal doesn't find foreign imports or discounts for low quality vegetables, but rather special network suppliers selling especially fresh food. So that's I guess it all depends on what your supply chain looks like, I would say. Then we have He's 90 the truth is out there for Chi-Town. It's a meme of, wait, all the accusations from terror or Russian propaganda always happen. It's a spaceman meme. And, yeah, I guess you could make the argument, but I think everything's propaganda these days, so I don't really care too much, I would say. Then we have another quintessentially American headline. Baby dies in hard cars, parents attend church in Florida. Christians now sacrificing babies for church in Florida. Where is the Republican outrage from Chi-Town? And of course, that's just another kind of circle jerk story, I would say. People leave babies in the car all the time, but you don't really have a narrative to attach to it as much. So that's important to remember here. So that's why they're attaching the narrative to it. U.S. Biden administration delivered $4.3 billion in funding to Amtrak in year one of bipartisan infrastructure law from railroads.gov and by your state officer, and that is, I guess that's good. I don't know if we should be spending much on the railroads, but I guess a lot of people use them, so I guess that's, I use them, so I guess that's good, I guess, I don't know. Probably not the worst thing the government spends money on, probably. Probably not even the top 100, so, which is scary, And then HOAs can each shit from your state officers. Next, that's an image link from meme. It says no. It says no. Bylaw for 543656 is your own law and SB Stereo C of perfectly cross fixes right now. And then the Chad guy's like, oh, the score is growing nicely. So I definitely don't care for HOAs. I agree with that post. Yes. The difference in political groups. It's a tweet from a guy. I know this was shared earlier for his name, but yeah, he's blurred out here. But gay people are like, we don't agree with Chick-fil-A, so we will boycott by not eating there. And right-wing people are like, we don't agree with Target's views, so we will boycott by storming their stores, ripping displays apart, threatening employees, and making bomb threats. So yeah, I guess everyone has their narrative they want to stick to, and I think that's important to remember when it comes to stuff like that. Yeah. This is what I'm seeing of a workforce that doesn't have sick time or adequate pay from Chi-Town. That's the link. From 40% of food and industrial break, there's links to sick restaurant workers. So I guess, that's the thing is, people get sick, and sometimes you have to work even though you're sick, but that's the thing, that's life, sometimes you have to justify working even though you're sick, and almost that gets food illnesses, and that's the thing, it's just, life is hard, and people get sick, people die, it's not fair, and that's life. It's just kind of tiring after a while. Just a heads up, Jimmy's manually proving all newly created troll posts again from by Clorox. And yeah, I was approving those posts. I was leaving be a free speech subreddit, an uncensored subreddit, like in the title. But apparently, we need to stay from Reddit's rules as well, which I think is stupid. But just because you're following the rules doesn't make you mean you're doing the right thing. And that's important to remember. I said I'll get to that later. Though we'll talk about that one more later. South Australia passes laws to crack down on protests after disruption of oil and gas conference from TheGuardian.com. I definitely, by her and I definitely agree that's to authoritarian. Should be cracking down on protests as long as they're peaceful, I would say. Nevada Republican governor approves abortion protections in cross-party murder from NBCFW.com. By her I personally more on the pro-choice side, so I think that's good. Alabama's law limiting transgender athletes in sports now includes college athlete students from NPR.org. It's the number one by her I personally am more on that side of limiting the athletes, but I do think there should be freedom of association. Yeah. Americans fear disaster from both Biden and Trump from Reason.com, and I'd agree with that right here. I agree that very much. Yeah. 1 in 5 teachers think carrying guns makes classroom safer, survey reveals from her and yeah, I think that's a good good thing is to note as well. You know, if teachers want to carry guns and they think that makes it safer, they should be able to. They should be forced to carry guns. So that's my thoughts there. Missouri Abortion Initiative wants to end the cruelty of Missouri ban. It would be a new world. This from the Missouri Independent by your state officer, and I guess that's something I agree with. Yeah. Yeah. Just there's a lot of posts today. I'm just tired of reading them, kind of. So let's just continue. ATF, no, brought to you by the party of promoting child labor from Chi-Town 20, and that is McCarthy says, we might have a child that has no job, no dependence by sitting on the couch. We're going to encourage that person to get a job and have to go to work, which gives them worth and value. So I think that's correct. You know, people should be able to work if they feel like it, and yeah. Yeah, so I think that's... yeah. So then we have until recreational cannabis is federally legalized, pot users cannot own guns. Will the area demonstrates not Christo-fascist Republican Party organization come out and defend pot users? Probably not. From CBSNews.com by Chi-Town. I'd agree that's probably not going to happen, but hopefully that will be federally legalized so we can have pot and guns and all that. Yeah. And one PD officer cites courtesy cars used by friends and family of cops as a source of corruption from police1.com by Ninja Lover. I guess, you know, police are always corrupt. Everyone's corrupt these days, I would say, and it's not a nice world. 10 investigates. DEI says assistant police chief made unlawful traffic stop but declines to prosecute from WBLR.com by Ninja Lover. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's important. You know, that's the thing, the police won't always prosecute you, even if they realize you say you're doing something unlawful, so that's something to note as well. And we have federal judge makes history in holding that border searches of cell phones require a warrant from EFF.org or your state officer. I personally am not very. I don't think warrants are ever justified really, but I guess the government always finds a way to justify. Then we have ex-New Jersey Governor Chris Christie planning to launch GOP presidential campaign next week from NBCFW.com by her and yeah, I personally don't care for Christie. I don't think he really has a chance, but yeah, he'll try his best, I guess. And we have, remember, just because you follow the rules doesn't mean you're doing the right thing. I posted that, and it's the link to my conversation I had on the, you're approving the comments from the auto removed accounts because they don't have enough karma. I said, I'm autistic as fuck. I don't care for the word. One of the comments said there are words. So I'm autistic as fuck. I don't care for the word either. But stories are free speech. And then another guy said, I realize that, but Reddit is not free speech. It's a private platform that has certain rules in order to use it. Unless your mission is to get the sub banned, it's best to follow said rules. That's fair. Just remember, and I said to reply, that's fair. Just remember, people in all sorts of authoritarian regimes let them get away with horrible shit just because they were following the rules. The average Nazi excuse was I was just following orders after all. And, you know, then another guy says, you know, your army's weak, you read Goodwin's Law, but you know, it's Reddit, so it's always Goodwin's Law, I would say. And, yeah. And we shouldn't be justifying Reddit's authoritarianism because it's a private company either, especially when it has so much influence over the discourse. It's why I consider myself to be in the center more than on the right. I can't stand corporate authoritarianism. And we have never remembered just because you follow the rules and then you're doing the right thing by your state officer. And that was what makes you wish for authority is legitimate. That was me, and the Flimsy House said, that's all fine, Danny, but you don't need any question. I think I did. I guess force is probably one of the biggest factors as well. Yeah. And I said I would determine whether the outcome is beneficial for me. It's not a big factor. I guess, yeah, that's important to note as well, just because, but yeah, I definitely agree with so just because you follow the rules doesn't mean you were doing the right thing. Then voter fraud. Then we have finally voter fraud is rare, but 15 legal votes in Laredo have thrown the city council into turmoil. From archive, it's an archive link from Texas Monthly, and yeah. So despite a judge's ruling, their opponent rightfully won the election. Daisy Campos Rodriguez summoned clings to her office. So that's the thing. If you, it's ultimately it all is coming down to force no matter what the election says. If you stay in your office and refuse to leave, I think Trump's going to do that for the White House, but decided against it after the 2020 election. If you just decide to occupy the office and refuse to leave, then you can't be stopped, arguably, and you might be forced out. All power does come from force, and that's important to remember. How all power does come from force, I would say. So we're going to wrap up there, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.